Questions and answers from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today's subject is Divine Will, Part 3. From the Mother. To be plastic to the divine means not to set against him the rigidity of preconceived ideas and fixed principles. And this requires a great strength, for the more you are plastic to the divine will, the more you come in conflict with the human wills that are not in contact with the divine will. There are people, as I have already said, who profess that whatever happens is the expression of the divine will. All that is, the world as it is the expression of the divine will. Therefore, they say, wisdom requires that you accept without working and without the least emotion or the least reaction everything that happens, for it is the expression of the divine will, and it is understood. We bend before it. This conception tends just to help people to get the equality of the soul. But if you adopt this conception without admitting its contrary and making a synthesis, you have naturally nothing more in life than to sit down and do nothing. Or, in any case, you never try to make the world progress. I remember to have read formerly, some years ago, a book of Anatole France. He was a consummate wit. I believe it must be his book of Jerome Coignard, and he said something like this: that men would be happy if they were not anxious about improving life. All misfortune begins with this will that people have to improve men and things. That is what I was telling you just now, although in another form. If you want to be in peace, happy, always satisfied, in a perfect equality of the soul, you must be convinced that things are as they should be. And if you are religious, you must persuade yourself and say, they are as they should be, because they are the expression of the divine will. And we have only one thing to do, to remain perfectly quiet, because it is better to be quiet than to be restless. Anatole France tells you the same thing, only he turns it round. Life is very comfortable, very bearable, and very acceptable if men did not put into their head that it should be otherwise. From the very moment they are not satisfied, naturally there is not one who is satisfied. If everybody had the good sense to say that things are as they should be, you die because you have to die. You are ill because you have to be ill. You are separated from those whom you love because you have to be separated, etc., etc. And you are in poverty because you have to be poor. There is no limit to this. And there is no sense either in suffering or in revolting. It is a stupidity. And misery begins by our will to make things better. Why don't you like to be ill when you are ill? You are much more ill when you do not want to be ill than when you say, all right, it is God's will. I accept my illness. At least you are quiet, and perhaps that helps you to be cured. And why do the poor want to be rich? And why do those who lose their children or their relatives want it not to be so? If everybody wanted that things be as they are, then everybody would be happy. That is a point of view. Only perhaps it may be that the divine will is not quite like that. Perhaps it is like the story of the elephant, the driver, and the Brahmin that you know well. The Brahmin on the way would not move aside, saying, "No, God in me wants to be there." And the driver replying, "But the God in me tells you to go away." The answer to Anatole France is precisely perhaps this, that there is a will higher than man's, and it wants things to move, to change, so one has to obey and to change them. I have had a striking example of a sannyasi who was furious against someone because this person did not want to be his disciple, which was already a proof that he was far from having reached the condition to which he laid claim. And as he possessed some powers, he made a very powerful formation to do away with the person. The person in question was in contact with Sri Aurobindo, and the result was that the formation of the sannyasin, who was acting with the so-called divine will, fell back upon him, so much so that he was killed by it. Have many people who have claimed to have a perfect equality of the soul and a perfect freedom, and who hide themselves behind the formula, "Everything is the divine will," but who, in fact, substitute in thought their own will for the divine will, and are very far from having realized what they lay claim to. They were idlers who did not want to make any effort and preferred to keep their nature as it is rather than work and transform it.